Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma. Today's story is not about business or balance. It's about the moment a cracked windshield showed me how much martyrdom and guilt had hijacked my power and how it became the biggest and greatest invitation to reclaim my authority as a parent. It's raw, it's real, and it's about the power of choosing leadership over guilt, even when it breaks your heart to do so. Let's begin. Hello, friends. Good morning. I am so grateful to be back in the recording studio today, sharing from my heart experiences that have transpired recently with the hopes of keeping it real. And for those of you that really resonate with this podcast, I hope that you subscribe and hope that you share with a friend. One of the premises that I had with Happily Divorced wasn't to advocate for divorce. It was to show people a possibility of a different way of living life, of going through challenges, of going through divorce, co-parenting, parenting, business, and all the things in between. One of the craziest things that happened, once again, was how my children, specifically my son, taught me a very important lesson, once again, on helping me honor myself, love myself, and advocate for myself in a way that I didn't realize that I wasn't. I would love to paint a context of what this year's look like. My twins are high schoolers, ninth grade, freshmen, and this year has been particularly challenging for me, for sure, and for them. They started out with a marching band commitment that entails either 2-hour practices in the morning, starting at 7 a.m., which means 5 to wake up, or after school practices from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. after being in school from 8:30 onwards. So essentially a good 10 to 11 hour day most days, and then add Friday evening football games, Saturday competitions with other bands. To say that this year has been challenging is an understatement for me as a mom and as a single parent that's doing the work 50% of the time. And it's hard. And inevitably, because my kids are significantly busier with their band commitments, and then you add AP workload, what has happened these past 8 to 10 weeks that school's been in session is that I look at them and I'm like, I feel so bad for them because they have all this workload. They're exhausted when they come home. They have mountains of work, schoolwork, tests, studying after they sort of decompress for a few minutes, and then it's time to go work. And I've been looking at their schedules and I see how busy they are. And inevitably, I've been taking on a lot of their previous chores. Rather than them fixing breakfast, lunches in the morning, I've taken on that responsibility. Rather than them cleaning up dishes, cleaning up the dining table, sweeping the floor, just like basic things after dinner, I've ended up taking up that responsibility. And inevitably, as a result of all of this, I've been more and more exhausted on the weeks that I have my kids. To add to all of this, they've been not coming down on time. And this has been a big source of contention for me personally. So they're barely coming down on the cusp of time that they're supposed to leave. Feeling like a lot of days I care about their showing up at their band commitment more than they do. And it's been awful. And I'm not sugarcoating, it's been awful. It was one of those crazy weeks. My ex-husband was traveling out of the country, so I had my kids for like 10 days. So at the end of the week, and especially on a Friday, end of the school week, end of like a very long stretch with my children, single parenting, I was beyond exhausted. That morning, a couple of Fridays ago, my son, his story has been having the worst time waking up. I guess he looked at his alarm, decided he was already late, and went back to bed. To which my daughter is downstairs freaking out because it's time to leave for school and they have a band practice before school, led by a football game that night. So finally get him up. He comes down extremely late, not taking responsibility, the usual. And we get to school, and at this point my daughter's frustrated. I can't wait to get them out of the house, out of the car, at school, and like just be done. By Friday evening, I was beyond exhausted and I wanted nothing to do with anyone. I wanted to be left alone and ideally be in bed by 9:30 with my Netflix on my phone and talking to nobody. The reality was that I had to be on standby and get them when they texted me. 11:45, I get the text. I head over to school, and now we're heading back home. I'm asking them about their schedule because the next morning, once again, they have a band concert and they have to be at school at 8:15. I ask my children, what time do we need to leave for school? They respond, 8:05. I'm like, okay, school's about 10 minutes away. That's reasonable. What time do you need to come down so you can leave for school at 8:05? To which my son responded, 8:05. And I'm like, seriously? Seriously? And I pushed back and I said, this morning you were late and you came down at the cusp of time. That's not going to work for me anymore. That's not working for your sister. What needs to change? And at this point, he gets defensive. He's exhausted. He's hungry. He's tired. Mom, why do you keep blaming me? Mom, why do you keep singling me out? Mom, why do you always say it's my fault? Getting more and more upset, my son. And he just got so frustrated, so overwhelmed. This is literally all within a 7-minute school ride where we're about 3 minutes from my house. And he is so upset, so just angry and just overwhelmed. He takes his phone and he throws it against the dashboard of the car. And the phone bounced off from the dashboard, hit the windshield of my new car that I just bought less than a month ago, and immediately created a crack in the windshield. I just literally put the car in park and I just started bawling my eyes out, just like the day, the week, just all of this mountain of overwhelm just came up in tears. And I just couldn't help but start sobbing. My son looked at this whole scene, me, windshield, and he opened the car door and he bolted out of the car. And again, now it's about 11:50 p.m. at night on a Friday night. And of course, I'm just like sobbing uncontrollably, trying to get myself together, can't think straight. And I'm like, okay, he's quarter mile from the house. He's walked here multiple times. He's biked here multiple times. He knows his way around. I'm going to go head home and wait for him at home. So I get my daughter and me at home at this point. I'm calmer. I'm talking to my partner. She's helping find the calm in the situation and just like help let go of that overwhelm because I can't really think clearly. About 10-15 minutes go by and my son is not home yet. At that point, I left and started making the rounds around the neighborhood, telling my daughter, stay home. In the event that he comes home, call me or text me and I'll come home right away. For about 20 to 30 minutes, I am frantically driving in my neighborhood. At this point, I'm not angry. I'm just really sad. I'm scared because I can't find my son and I don't know what to do. And in the suburbs of McKinney, Texas, it's pretty darn dark. There's barely some street lights and you can't see much at night, at midnight. So it's about 12:20 or so, 12:22. I'm about to call my son's father and call the police and be like, hey, my son's missing. This kid's missing. He hasn't come home yet. And right at that nick of time, my daughter texts me, said, Mom, he's home. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And I come running over. I came home. And at that point, I knew that there was no good in talking to him. He wasn't ready to talk to me. He was hiding in his room, hiding in his closet. Mom, I don't want to see you. And I said, I just want to see you. I just want to make sure you're okay. He showed me his face for 1 minute. And I decided to say goodnight to him, put this thing, kind of figure out what I wanted to do the next day. Luckily, the next day they had this football game and marching band competition all day. And they were pretty much out of the house most of the day again, which gave me enough time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And as I was sort of sitting with all of this, the overwhelm hit me. But underneath the overwhelm, there was a lot of sadness. And I was able to sort of see in that situation, it just sort of became clear in that moment that, oh my God, on some level, I've been taking on all this responsibility, all the chores, all the housework, all the cooking, all the cleanup, all the breakfast, lunches, all the things. No wonder I'm exhausted. And then on top of that, I've been taking the responsibility of them getting to school on time and making it my problem versus giving them accountability and ownership of their responsibility, their problem. And it just hit me so hard. And I was like, what do I need to do? And I firmly believe that, it shouldn't have been my responsibility to pay for the windshield. And I got cash quotes the next morning for $600, but I wasn't in the mood to spend $600 on a windshield for something that I didn't do. And I felt like, my son needed to learn that valuable lesson of figuring out what it looked like to pay me back. And I made that decision. During all of this, I reached out to his dad, to my son's father, and talked about the situation. And we came out with three non-negotiables. One, waking up time / going to school time. Second, phone time / screen time. Third, going to bed time. And we came up with some criteria between the two of us with the intention that we would set ground rules for the both of us, both households having this same enforcement of rules. I was also able to see my part in all of this on how I had been enabling my children, that in feeling sorry for them, I had taken on all this responsibility that wasn't mine, and I was making it into my problem. And how I know I made it my problem was because it was overwhelming, and it was creating massive amounts of frustration, massive amounts of stress, and I was just done with it. I was done with feeling super exhausted, overwhelmed while having children, which is like half of my life right now. So kind of being with all this stuff, I sat down the next day when my kids finally had some time to relax. we sat down and had a family meeting. We talked about ground rules. But before we talked about ground rules, I asked my children, what does it look like for you? When do you feel loved? When do you feel respected? What do you like for me to do or be with you that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel respected? And they both kind of chimed in. Mom, we feel loved when you listen to us. We feel loved when you ask us how we're doing. We feel like heard and supported when you do things that we ask you to do. We feel heard when you give us space and time to do what we need to do and some autonomy. So they gave me a list of all these things, and I sort of sat with all those things, and then I put it on them and I said, well, what happens when those things don't happen? And when I don't listen to you, when I don't follow through, and when I said I'm going to do, or I just disregard exactly what you're saying, how does it make you feel? At which point they both got quiet and they were like, well, that doesn't feel good. And that would make us angry. And that would make us resentful. And at which point my son looks at me, he's like, Mom, are you resentful towards us? And I said, no, I'm not resentful towards you. But if this behavior continues, like inevitably would create a lot of resentment. The reason we're having this family meeting is so we can have an open conversation about what it looks like to recreate respect, boundaries, love back in the household so everyone feels supported, everyone feels loved, and no one's running on fumes. And it was a really powerful conversation because, for me, it wasn't about blaming or shaming. It wasn't about throwing them under the bus. It wasn't about punishing them for eternity. It was about treating them with the respect that I know I want to be treated with. So at this point, the family meeting's over. My daughter goes away, and now I need to talk to my son. And I talked to him about what happened, and he was super remorseful. I'm so sorry, Mom. I got really frustrated. I threw the phone against the dashboard. I had no idea that it would bounce back. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, what do you think we should do? And he was like, I don't know. I guess like you need to ground me or something. And essentially what we came up with was the following. One, his phone's taken away for several weeks. Two, he has to pay back. That's $600. And my kids don't get a lot of allowance. And he's like, can I pay you back with money that I have like from my checking account? He has like birthday money and Christmas money and all the things. And I said, well, you could pay back half of it with that, but you're going to have to earn back the rest. And his face just fell. He's like, I don't know what that means. And I said, let's figure it out together. We sat down and we created a bunch of tasks. These aren't chores. These are kind of things that I would essentially outsource or have somebody else do. Things like trimming bushes, washing the car. I'd ordered a couple of like Echo Smart thermostat units, getting those installed. My ex-husband had just picked up a dresser for my daughter and like hauled it over to assemble. Like all the things that I would have a handyman / somebody to take care of. We made a list of all of those things, computer things, admin things, and created dollar amounts associated with all of those things. And the commitment was that until he pays back the remaining balance, which is like $268 something, he doesn't get his phone back. And he has to earn back all of these things. So fast forward this past weekend, when they have a 5-day weekend, my kids were with me about 3 of those 5 days, and my son worked the entire weekend. He washed the car, he assembled the dresser, which took hours, by the way, like everything from taking that owner manual, putting the pieces together, assembling top to bottom, like everything. It's insane, like amazing. And his sister did it with him, putting the little Echo Smart thermostat units, and did all of this work. Helped my mom, helped her like get her new phone in order, helped her put her screen protectors. And of that $268, he's already earned back like $110 in this past week. And even, as I was getting them ready to get out of the house for school the next morning, I was ridden with guilt. And I was like, oh my God, like the reason I brought the kids home, it was my ex's weekend officially, was because I wanted to spend time with them. The whole weekend went by and oh my God, all they did was work and this and that. And the guilt really was gnawing at me of like, I didn't get to spend that quality time with them that I really wanted. And I was talking this through with my partner, and he was just like, Karishma, if you really stick through with what you said, what an amazing lesson. What an amazing lesson for your son to learn. And, with him, my son was like instant gratification. Mom, like, give me back my phone and like take away my allowance for the rest of the year, like immediate gratification. And I was like, no, I'm sorry. We can't do that. And I understand what you want, but like, I didn't want to pay $600 and fork it up the next morning. I had to take care of it. And this is what you must do. And so here we are again, tough love, tough parenting. And it's uncanny that this situation with the windshield breaking once again helped me realize where I'd given my power away, where I allowed enabling to dictate what was happening. And if you really think about it, right? If you really think about it, when we feel bad for someone, isn't that not giving them the benefit of the doubt? So this band commitment is something that they've picked. They wanted from the beginning. They chose it. And the truth is, when they really want to do something, they do. And there's no excuses. And in fact, they're asking to socialize on Friday nights after band, before band the next day. Like, if they really want to do something, they'll do it. And yet sometimes we human beings have so much like ego and pride. Like, we're like, oh, poor baby, poor this. And we're almost like making them like babies, like victims. And we're actually enabling victimhood, enabling this, like, oh my God, you poor thing. And then people like me, are so conditioned to take on all of that responsibility and to really become martyrs, sacrificing our own well being for everyone else. And I know that's been my old go to most of my life. And once again, my children taught me how I was doing that. Once again, giving the power away, giving my peace away, and not allowing myself to be supported and loved. So I'm excited. This is just 2 weeks into this journey. I know it's not going to be easy for my son, but what a miracle. What a freaking miracle. And I just wanted to add one more thing here. This past weekend, while my kids were with me, my son, they have this thing now, this tradition where the boys, quote unquote, proposed, I'm not making this up, to a girl for homecoming via a poster. And a poster is apparently the minimum. And he orchestrated this whole poster creation with me around my schedule. His sister helped him a lot with it. But instead of my son going behind my back to do all these things, there was a level of safety with me. There was a level of like, Mom, I really want you here. And actually came back early from Houston, where I was with my partner, to come back to Dallas so I could take him to get roses, to get whatever he needed so he could ask the girl he liked out to homecoming without shame, without guilt, without hiding. And I'm looking at all of this and I'm like, oh my God, that generational cycle of hiding love, hiding expression of love, hiding how you feel about someone, hiding all of it. Like, on some level, that cycle is already broken because my kid feels safe. I feel like we became closer together and we became closer as a family. In fact, 30 minutes ago, literally before opening up this platform, this podcast platform, my daughter emails me, Mom, I love you. And it's, I just look at that and it just makes me so emotional and so grateful, because that level of safety that I get to experience with my children, that I get to gift them, model with them, because I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm comfortable in standing in my power. I'm comfortable feeling my emotions, crying in front of them, all these things that I was never modeled. Me being able to express myself and be myself fully and completely allows them also to do the same and to completely be set free from all the generational trauma, all the generational hiding, and all the generational unworthiness. Thanks so much for listening.